This is Sean Jung. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Where the Veil Grows Thin.
You're with Sean Jung and Where the Veil Grows Thin, an exploration of the sacred moments of our human experience in life and death, joy and sorrow, birth and end of life. It's the unscripted instant when the heart opens, the face-to-face moments with the divine.
Usually it's because they feel like it's disrespectful or it's just icky to talk about it. I would
Sure, there's the
always
whole the business of
exactly, the
living.
business end of dying. The business end of dying is significant. There's so much to do. And if you can get some of it done before the death, then those immediate moments afterwards, hours, days, a few weeks, can be eased because all you have to do is feel your feelings. For some people, they'll say, I'm so glad I had all that busyness to do because it allowed me to just lean into those sharp places slower because I had so much to do. But you're doing it without full brain capacity. When you're grieving, the brain, and this is me, a psychobabble Sean, the brain is the organ that's most impacted. We think our hearts are shattered. We use that term that our heart is broken, but it's really our brain that's the most impacted. It doesn't work well, and it doesn't always work to our higher and greater good. It's busy trying to figure out what just happened. And so we're not safe. We shouldn't open our mail alone. I've talked about this in here before. Put little post-it notes in the bathroom that say wipe, drink a glass of water, wash your hands. You can't remember those simple things for self-care to get you through a day. And yet you have to fill out 18 pieces of paperwork about this person's life for the coroner or the funeral home to proceed with whatever is next. Those things can all happen before the death, but people don't like to go there. The people who do go there, my experience has been, were always so grateful afterwards that I had really encouraged them to take care of it. You can go to the funeral home and pay for the funeral, the cremation, the burial, whatever it is you're going to do, all beforehand. So that at the time, there's nothing to do. There's no paperwork. There's nothing. You can just fall into the bed, crawl under the covers, pull the covers over your head and just let the world go by for a few days until you're ready to take a deep breath and then walk out and start talking about what has just happened in your life. But
So do you have a list of things like that, paying the funeral home and
yeah,
those
somewhere.
things?
Yeah.
What Well, let's just see. Can you name 3 things that you would recommend people do?
Oh, sure. The first one would be if there's time, if it's it's again, we're not talking about the snatch away deaths. We're talking about the expected deaths.
Sure.
Um, the trick is with that, and I'm going down a rabbit hole, the snatchaways, lots of people die not seeing it coming. They die in lots of ways, and they didn't expect to die that day, but they did. So all of us can do some of this. We don't have to know that there's a terminal date or an illness that's going to take us, so we can do these things. But one of them would always be if it was a couple, or even if it's just an individual. If you own anything that has a title, anything, a boat trailer, a house, um, put a second name on it, put another name on that title, so that whoever is dealing with your estate and whatever stuff is left over when you die doesn't have to go to probate court to access that trailer and get it sold or give it away to somebody if their name is on the title. Um, Accounts, any bank accounts, safe deposit box, um, Greg and I have page after page after page of all the things that we have on our computers that require a login and a password. Like 13 pages of single spaced spreadsheet. There's so many. If you can't access these days and times, if you can't access somebody's computer, your hands are really tied if they die, when they
Would
die.
you advise people to do that even before there's a looming death?
Long
Just
before. Now, do it now.
okay.
Do it now. If you're over 18, do it now. Because you don't have parental, if you're not 18, I don't know the rules. I think your parents are considered to be your guardian, and so they have access to everything. But if you have a phone and a computer and they're all locked up with, things that they can't access, even that, somebody should know where to find those. You could, I've seen people make a notebook, and on the spine, just a blank white notebook on the spine, it says when I die. And on the front, it says when I die. And you open it up, and there's a key to their house, and there's a key to the car, and there's a second key all taped in the front, all the titles to everything they own, all the account information, the list of names and numbers of people to call, attorneys, friends, like who they want, their email lists, their things. So, and you can write your own. That's extreme for most people to write their own obituary, but it's certainly something I have worked on and have, I've said this before, not jokingly, but I haven't done it yet. I really want to do my own memorial service. I do great memorial services, and I want to do mine. I can't imagine anybody could do me service. I want people to hear from me what I want them to know about who I was and what I cared about and what I think about things. And in some ways we're doing that in these podcasts for the past year.
Sure.
I've been sharing a lot of really personal stuff about what I think about things. I, so let's see. So bank accounts, logins, titles, and then going to the funeral home. Do you want to be buried? What do you want done with your vessel? And people, when I ask that, people will say, well, I don't care what the family does because I won't be here. It doesn't matter to me. But then they have to deal with it. They have to figure it out, and they have to, do it. And it's all so painful. I have accompanied so many families to the funeral home to sit down around that big table in the conference room and have these conversations. And this is just like days, less than days after a loved one has died, and make these decisions about music, about readings, about cremation versus burial. Do they want to be embalmed? Do they, what kind of a box do they want to be buried in? So many things are so painful for families to have to make those decisions.
What sort of emotional preparation should people do, even if they do it right now and there's no looming death, there's no illness, it's just in the interest of being well planned?
Helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, helpful. It's I'm guessing that one of the things that might cause aversion is that people don't want to reckon with why they're doing something and what the implications of that are. Is it something that you can be detached from and just look at it from a pragmatic standpoint if you're doing it today and again there's no looming anything? Or should people be aware that the act of doing this, the act of considering these things is going to bring up some emotional response and that it may in fact be dramatic?
Did you say dramatic or traumatic?
Well, both, but I said traumatic.
Yeah, I think it could easily be dramatic. It creates some drama for us to take that step, to call a funeral home, to walk in the doors to one and say, I want to talk about uh, my own death and what I want done. So the preparation can be, I'm doing this because I want to make sure that my wishes are honored, but I want to alleviate the burden to my family. So I just want it all taken care of. So if you can walk into it with the understanding that you're giving this amazing gift to whoever it is that would have to take care of it if you don't, and if you like that person and you want to give them this gift, you can then put all the paperwork, you can do whatever, and put it in a gift box, wrap that up, put a bow on it, give it to them as a gift. Because it truly is a gift to do this. It can be traumatic to think about your own death. Clearly, for many people, they don't want to talk about it at all. Some people think, I mean, I am a believer in the the philosophy of, if you think it, you create it, in the good things that we can manifest in our lives. We are not creating our deaths by planning for them. They're coming. We're not creating it. We're going to die. We're not necessarily going to find our soulmate or our perfect home or our perfect job without manifesting it. But death, we don't need to manifest. It's coming. So when people say, I don't want to talk about it because it'll make it come sooner, I just think that's a cop out.
Okay. During our conversation, there was a path where the the routes diverged, and I wanted to talk about two separate things. And so we've
Thank
talked
you.
about one of them
Thank you
as
for
far
even
as
noticing that, because I don't even know what we did.
that. So talking about how people can plan and prepare is one thing, but another thing that I've experienced personally on some level, and I think that a lot of people do, is when we are in the midst of, I was going to say, the tragedy of death, and I realize that some people,
Yeah.
it's the inevitability, but
Yeah.
when we're in that crisis mode where we are showing up to do what we have to, I have found myself being able to kind of just be objective and get things done, knowing, however, that the body and the brain will keep the receipts, and that when the initial wave of all of the stressors, all of the everything that you're confronting is over, then you pay for it. And I'm wondering, one, if that's a common experience, and two, how to guard against that. Just being able to, because I think some people during those moments will say, "Oh, I'm holding up okay. I'm doing
Oh,
fine."
yeah. I'm okay.
And you're like, "Are you though?" Because this seems like it would cause more than a "I'm doing fine." And I don't doubt that people can have the grace to be able to have a peaceful experience and a peaceful processing, but I also know that we're dealing with things that we have had look we've been looking at through the windshield for decades or
Mhm.
longer, and now all of a sudden something is here and we're having to reckon with it. And so I'm wondering if you have any advice about checking in with yourself and checking in with others to be able to maybe not take that first response of, "Oh, it's fine, I'm fine,"
Yeah.
and
Well,
and realize that. Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was
No,
just gonna say,
finish.
and realizing that there is often a price to pay
Yeah.
later, and that our bodies and brains are capable of all sorts of miracles where they will allow us to get through whatever it is we need to get through. And it's emotional adrenaline, I guess. It gets you through, but then
Mhm.
there will be a come down later.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think about the adrenaline. It kicks in, and we do what we have to do, and we think we're okay. And we wanna believe we are, and if we say we're okay long enough, we'll be okay. You're at the piece that the body and the mind keep receipts. I love that, because that does happen. It's visceral, it's cellular, that grief process, those emotions around death. And I, you know, I will, I'm never surprised. when someone who has experienced a death, whether it was a traumatic, snatch away, violent death, whether it was an expected, peaceful, beautiful death, whatever kind of death, if it was someone they loved, if within the next 6 months they don't break a leg skiing, rear end somebody on the freeway, fall just like out of the blue, just fall and get hurt or get sick, come down with the flu or something, because the immune system of our bodies is so compromised by grief that we
Yeah.
are susceptible to so much. So I will talk to people about that when given, and you're giving me the opportunity right now to talk to even more people, which is why we're doing these. But when I was working with people, I would talk to families about that. Please be mindful, like opening your mail. Don't just bring it in, put it in a box once a week, have a neighbor or good friend come and open it with you. So you make sure that you're paying attention, because driving a car when you've just lost somebody that you love can be so dangerous. And
Yes.
just walking to the car can be really dangerous. Walking off a curb, stepping off a curb. Things happen, and I'm never very surprised at all when they happen to someone who's just experienced a significant loss. That's so the mind and the body, because the mind isn't paying attention. We think we're paying attention, but we're really not.
Do you have any guidance for people who want to have that objective check-in with themselves to get the awareness of where am I really
Mhm.
versus where do I
Sure.
think I am?
My good friend, Joe, is a practitioner of many different body kinds of things, body, mind, sacral, cranial work, and body work. And she and I talk about this a long time ago. She would say, okay, where's your seat? Like, ask yourself, where am I right now? Feel, if you're sitting in a chair, where's my butt? So if you're sitting at the funeral home, you're sitting in the police car, you're sitting in your living room, if this thing has just happened, okay, where's my body? Where am I in terms of my body? Feel your body in the chair, make contact with it. If you're standing, putting balanced weight on both feet, taking a deep breath and saying, okay, where am I right now? Where am I? So that you can be where you are, instead of way over there where you're getting ready to go, or way back there where you just were, because then we're not paying attention to where we are. And if we're paying attention to where we are, we should be good walking to the car. Once you're in the car, that's where, I mean, when you're in this big metal machine, going lots of miles per hour, it's not the same as just asking yourself, where am I? Because that's checking in with your body many times a day, asking yourself, where am I right now? Water and air and water are the two most helpful tools we have at our disposal. At least currently, we have water at our disposal and air. So drink water. That's why I always bring a glass of water to someone or offer them a bottle of water. And it won't do them any good in the glass or in the bottle. And I remind them of that. This water is not going to do you any good in this glass. Put it in your body. Our brains need water. Our bodies need water, but our brains to work well need water. We need to be hydrated. And our lungs need fresh air. So step outside, put your back against the wall of the house or the building or whatever, and take a deep breath. If it's daytime, find the sun, turn your face to the sun, close your eyes, take a deep breath. It only takes a few seconds to do that, and it can really bring us home into where we are and who we are. And then we can go back into the chaos. We can go back into the grief. We can go back into the keening and wailing family of people of something that's just happened, and be okay.
We can cross the threshold
We
again.
can we can cross the threshold back into where, yeah, absolutely. And then if that's the case, when you cross it going back, if you're not at home and you're going home, you definitely want to do those things before you walk in. We talked about it 2 weeks ago. We don't want to take all that into our home,
Yeah.
hoping that people's homes are their sanctuaries.
All right. Well, um, this is, I think, the episode that we were meant to record.
I think probably you're
All right.
right.
Then I'm going to hand it back over to you
All
to
right.
close up the shop.
Okay. All right. Well, this is Sean Jung. And as always, thank you for listening to Where the Veil Grows Thin. Thank you if you've joined us on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Please pass these on to anybody that you think might benefit from hearing words like this. If that's happening, and it's happening in everybody's life, if you feel so moved to share this, we'd really appreciate it. And I hope you'll join us again.
And because she didn't remember, Sean also, maybe the people should go find you on Instagram, where the veil grows thin.
Oh,
Where
yeah, there's that.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, there's that. Those things I don't know how to use well yet. But yes, there is an Instagram account Where the Veil Grows Thin.
all
Thanks, Ben.
episodes all episodes of the podcast can be found at seanjung.com and are available wherever you get your podcasts and are available for subscribe. So if you're over there and you want to subscribe, leave a review, that's great too.
You've done this many more times than I have.
Yeah.
I appreciate your expertise so much, Ben. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Sean.